Hey, welcome everyone. My name's Kathy. If we haven't met in person, hopefully we will soon. I'm super excited that the club is open again. We've got lots of outdoor classes, so check the schedule. I'm down for a few things there, including Friday morning a new sunrise yoga at 7:30, followed by a group walk at 8:30 with a little stretch out afterwards for anybody that might be getting out of bed in time. So thanks for coming today. I'm recording the class, and this is Canada Day. So some celebration for whatever that has meaning for you. A mixed bag of things to be aware of this year. So, but a chance to sit back, lie back for a little while, and just reflect on what we can be grateful for, and the simple fact that we're together, even though we're in still some separate spaces, but that we can have this vehicle to share consciousness and breath and tend to our bodies. So just keep it simple. This is a gentle class, and it's good to have some props. Doesn't have to be a lot, but I'm using a blanket that I've folded up a few times for our starting pose. And in my space, I've got my mat. I've got a couple of pillows back there. So anything along those lines that you might want to grab before getting settled. So I'm going to take this blanket, or it might be a towel that you're using, and I'm just going to roll it up a little bit. And depending on your shoulders and the size of your blanket, it could be adjusted the size of this roll so that towards the top third of the mat. So the head will be up at this end. And this rolled blanket will go like a Band-Aid across the middle part of your back to catch the tips of the shoulder blades. It's a really nice way to open up across the collarbones and have some expanse there to reduce some of the tension or the overstretching in the back body that comes from this kind of stuff. Yeah, so let's start to get to the ground. Might need to do a bit of maneuvering around to tuck the tailbone under. As you come over that, if it feels, it's sort of Princess and the Pea. So it might feel a little bit awkward at first. And for sure, it could be that it's a little too high or too low in your back. If it's down a little too low, then your low back may be overarching. And if it's up a little too high, then you just might not get the same sensation of opening across the chest. If it feels like your head is really falling back in space, then you can reach for the back of your mat and roll that up a couple of times. That's just an easy way to elevate your head. You might take the ponytail holder out of the way so that the head has a bit more alignment with the chest, but the chest is slightly higher than the head. That's no problem. Your legs can be long and outstretched, or you can bend the knees and have the feet mat width apart and the knees dropping in towards each other. It can be also nice if you have a pillow or two to tuck underneath your thighs. So go ahead and find yourself in this shape. As our entry point to this practice of communion with this body, breath, and heart, all of those parts of of the self, of this being that we have names for that make it feel like they're separate, but they're not. So here we pause just to integrate those and become present. I have a bell or a singing bowl that I will tap, and hopefully it translates across the airwaves, just so that you uh, open up the ears and hear the sound, and also maybe some vibration from that, to let your attention rest on that for just as long as that does hold your attention. There's no need to really lean in hard for anything here. Here we go. So that vibration or that sound is the official welcoming of this moment, of this opportunity to pause between things. We're in the middle, so to speak, of where we've been earlier in this day and where we might be going later. And so we're right here, right now, inhabiting this body, structure, the feeling of weight and contact with the earth. Wherever those points are for you, where you feel some support. Open up the windows of curiosity and kindness to what is here in the body right now. This may be a new practice for you to extend some self-compassion. So I'll refer to it as just a friendliness with maybe some body parts that are feeling tight or sore. Perhaps you have an injury. And if nothing in particular is coming up, then just open up to where you might be feeling some tension. So often for me, it'll be in the face and the jaw. Could be very subtle around the eyes, across the forehead. Things we might not be aware of if we weren't coming to a halt like this. So this is the opportunity to see, to feel into what's here in the shoulders, in the hips, those big muscles around the glutes, the joints of the pelvis, the lower back. Where a lot of tension accumulates. We carry around these suitcases in this area of the body. So just seeing what's there in the legs, checking in with the bottoms of the feet, with the palms and the fingers. Sometimes just by resting attention in an area briefly might release something, some gripping or clenching. And start to extend the awareness to some of the other sensations that are present. So that would include any of the senses: hearing, field of hearing, sounds in your home studio or your external. You might hear some things outside your windows, neighborhood. Whether your eyes are opened or closed, there's an awareness that there's vision here. There's colors and shapes. And also in the awareness is thinking, and more specifically, maybe an inner critic. It's that voice that keeps bringing up some things, some judgments. And it's okay, just softening around that, whatever it is, letting it be. Just swing the doors wide open to be like a guest house, welcoming in even the emotional tones that maybe here, some leftovers from an earlier conversation or conflict. And this is the practice of experiencing and having that relationship with the inner experience. The experience isn't the problem, but often a bit of that argument that comes in the relationship with it all. So let's turn our attention to breath. Feeling where that is most predominant in the body. Might be one area of the body, or could be just the sound of the lungs opening and closing. Or just the awareness of the entirety of the body receiving fresh oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. We're going to change positions in the next minute. But if it's comfortable for you to let your attention rest on the breath for a little bit longer, as a way of improving our ability to have focus and concentration. Just following the subtleties of each inhalation from when it starts to when there's a pause at the top, followed by the exhalation when that starts and finishes at the bottom, experiencing that emptiness. And when the breath cycle starts again, just picking up that thread. Doesn't mean that we can stay with it for more than a moment or two, but rather that we keep coming back with that friendly attitude to begin again. If you do have pillows underneath your thighs, you might use your arms to take those out of the way. Stretch the legs out and stretch the arms out. If that's not too much underneath your upper back, just take up a bit more space. Let your palms come behind your head. Then pick up the head. Just lift it off the ground with the strength of the arms. Start to look down towards the feet. Coming up a little bit and rocking over to one side. A C curve in the upper back. Still letting the head be heavy in the hands. And then through center and rock it over to the other side. And then come back to center. A little bit of core as you draw the crown of the head towards the ceiling and squeeze the elbows towards the ears. Now you can either roll to one side and bend the knees as a way of resting before coming up. Or if you're up high enough, you can release the arms down and just press up. Bring the soles of the feet together now. Have quite a long diamond shape to lengthen yourself forward. Press off the fingertips to find some length in the lower back. You could move also your blanket if you had that bit of a booster underneath your seat to ease on the low back. And then drape the arms forward, the chest forward. If you're using pillows, they can go underneath the knees or the upper thighs. Or even on your thighs in your center. So you can get creative with this. We've got lots of time in this practice to set things up so that this may be different than what we're used to doing, to let ourselves be really supported and to give lots of time to that. So no need to be alarmed if there's some pushback, some questioning in the mind, whether this is a good use of time to just be so slow and even to be still. Profound benefits to this practice for your nervous system, your endocrine system, your immune system. And also for the prefrontal cortex, the higher reasoning centers of the brain, so that we shift from the amygdala at the base of the skull, where the fear and anxiety are triggered. Those things are there to protect us, that's okay, but they get a little overcharged. Just might be feeling some widening in the back. Maybe something in the hips here. Let's take 5 breaths. And even if it's just for one breath cycle, that you can have that focus and you lose it and then you start over again. It's 2. Following the breath as it travels and expands. And then that deflation, softening, releasing as the breath leaves the body. Let's take 1 more. Good. Slowly start to come up, moving the props out of the way. Leaning back, if you're up on something, then that can go as well. Separate the feet wide now, just lean back and drop your knees over towards the left. Let's press into the right shin so your right hip will be lifted off the ground. And slowly bring the right knee up and let the left knee follow. Pressing your left shin to the floor so the left hip is lifted, lengthening through the left knee and opening up through the frontal hip area, the psoas. Let's come back over towards the left this time so the right shin presses. So you can stay there. Or just keep your left hand on the ground behind your left hip. And wave your right arm around, looking over your left shoulder. Let's open it up on the inhale and then wave it around on the exhale. And once more, open it up and reach, reach, reach. You can let your right hand rest at the back of the skull and your right elbow track towards the floor to deepen the twist a little if that feels good. One more time to open and reach. And bring the right knee up, both hands down again. Track the knees over towards the right. So we can stay here again, or just keep weight in the right palm and let the left fingers start to cross over. So the femur bone on the left side is internally rotating as you reach with the left arm, look to the right. And then open it up like you're closing up a curtain. Draw the belly in. You can find a bit of flexion, a cat sensation, lifting the navel. Once more, open it up. And then reach, just let your left hand rest at the back of the skull, the left elbow draw towards the floor and draw the belly in. One more breath. Open up through center and come back. Let's bring the soles of the feet right together and shift a little bit closer. So once again, you might want to boost yourself up on blanket or on a pillow. And if you're doing that, then it would be more or less at the edge of your sits bones so that there's a little more of a forward tilt to the pelvis. Can really help a lot. And so we're going to let the right knee lift up quite a lot. And use the left hand to press into the left thigh and massage it out a little bit. Maybe use your fist, your knuckles. So just let this right knee be really loose and up. So just working on rolling some external press massage. You can look at your limbs and be just aware again of all that this area of the body does to hold us up and keep us in our forward movement. And then lean back with the left hand. Bring the left knee up. So the right knee will just kind of flop down there. A little bit loose, not what we're used to. And use your right hand again to just press along, maybe some sore spots, massage, or with your knuckles. If you're moving the flesh towards the knee, lengthening out the inner groin. And then let's bring both knees a bit more level. You're going to adjust your posture so that your spine is able to be nice and long. And the feet, the baby toe edge of the feet are pressing together. And we'll just breathe here for a little bit. If you have some openness in the hips and you prefer to have your hands on your shins or even opening up the feet a little bit there. So your navel is lifting and moving in the direction towards the feet. And for the last few breaths, we'll let the chin drop and the spine start to find some flexion. Just releasing the shoulders from the ears for more of a bow. Good, and then lift it up. We'll use our hands to bring the legs back together. And then stretch the legs out long. Lean back and give them a bit of a massage through the back line just by drumming out the legs. We'll let the legs be a little bit apart, not too far apart, in front of us. And again, windshield wiper the ankles. We'll do one more variation on some twisting. So the torso is going to start to wrap the right ribs towards the left. And we're just going to lean with both hands over to the left and let the whole of your seat lift up, really. Just let the legs be loose and floppy. And then back through center and spinning around. So your arms come over to the right and let your seat roll. So you're on your right hip, more or less. Through center and over to the other side. Legs are just lengthening and floppy. One leg is internally rotating as you go, and the other is externally. Good. Just finish up, balance out both sides. And then let's come on to the hands and knees. Coming into a tabletop shape. Bringing your palms, or you can use fists underneath the shoulders. Walk the hands a little ahead of your shoulders. We're going to drop the hips over to the right, and then through center, and then over to the left. Lift a little in the low belly as you go, right and left, right and left. Good. Walk the knees in closer now. Even the wrists can come in closer, or again the fists. And let's squeeze the shoulder blades together for some extension in the spine. And then exhale, lifting the belly into cat. Shoulder blades squeeze for cow pose. And exhale to peel it into cat. Once more, breathing in. And breathing out. Curl the toes under. Start to send some weight back towards the heels now. Stretching out the bottoms of the feet. Hands on the floor or hands on the thighs if you can have that weight coming more back towards the heels. Just depends on the structure of your feet, what you've been doing today. So choose a spot. There may be some discomfort here, but it's in that therapeutic zone. Just breathing in and out. You can take it to a higher kneeling at any time. Let's take 2 more breaths there. Good. So come off of that. Just pick up the feet and wrap them out. Let's take it towards a child's pose. For that stretch of the ankles, and bring the fingertips forward. Lift the base of the palms so the backs of the arms get a stretch. Breathing along the sides of the body. Length from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Space for the breath. Let's walk the hands over towards the left. Simple and yet profound. Making some space for the lungs on the right side and more elasticity in the tissues. By spending a few extra breaths in each pose. Hands through center and over towards the right. Filling in the left side of the ribs under the arm. And back through center here. Let's lift it back up into tabletop shape. And then bring the elbows down for a squeeze. And then lift back up into that tabletop shape. Exhale, so the elbows, the forearms come down, and then press straight up. Exhale, the chest is moving forward, the shoulder blades moving together, and then the shoulder blades are moving wide as the arms straighten. And then one more time to bring the elbows down. And press it straight back up. Let's curl the toes under again. One more time. Let's stretch out the bottoms of the feet. Hands can stay on the ground, or if you're coming up, we'll just do a few shoulder rolls. Both directions, either in this low kneel or coming to the higher kneeling point. Or you can come in and out and circle out the wrists. A few cracks and pops. And then just scissor the hands. So scissoring as the hands face each other, open and close, open and close. And look down at the hands and same thing, just open and close, open and close. Flick out the wrists, come off the feet. Bring the tops of the feet down again for a wrap. And then this time, let's keep the hips really high, stretch the arms forward, and send the breastbone towards the floor. So for anyone that is using some props and would like to accentuate, actually the blanket is a really good one to fold that up so it's nice and flat and a little bit of a rectangular, sort of like a block. So if you prefer, you can have your elbows coming towards that. And then leaning back a little bit, so you get a stretch underneath the arms. The hands are prayer at the back of the head. Palms can be flat together, or it's nice to just have the fingertips together. A subtle lift on the low belly. And if you don't have something like that, that's totally fine. You can also work to having the forearms lift just from the ground. Or you might just have your arms straight and loose on the ground. The lift in the low belly is just to protect the lumbar spine. Let's take 3 more breaths there. Good, let's shift onto our tummies now. So stretch the legs back. Let your forehead turn to one side. Your gaze turn to one side, resting on that cheek for a moment there. Just letting the back settle. With that deep heart opener. And turn your head in the other direction. Good, and then bring your chin or your forehead to the floor. Start to bring the hands forward and the elbows underneath the shoulders for a Sphinx pose. Hands can be clasped together here. You'll know pretty quickly if this is causing some discomfort in the lower back, then walk the elbows further forward. Walk as far out as you need to so that there's not sensation in the low back, or at least nothing that you would consider to be feeling painful or dangerous. If your elbows are far enough forward, then you can have your head in your hands. So that can be really nice. Elbows forward of your shoulders, and just holding your head in your hands. Kind of forces a smile. And the cheeks lifting. This great pose for your lungs to get a massage, your digestive organs. Holding the weight of your head, all of the activity that we're so caught up in, just letting that be supported as well. If that's too much or doesn't feel right in the neck, then you can also have your forearms down and your head down, resting on top of your forearms. Still an upper back bend. Or the third eye, space between the eyebrows can be supported by the thumbs. This might be very different for us to be in a posture for several minutes. It's like waiting in line at the store. We're cultivating skills of patience and acceptance for what's here. And just making note. So if there's boredom, just note that this is what boredom feels like. Boredom stimulates creativity. Slowing down to be more clear seeing. Let's take 3 more breaths. And then lower, slide the hands back to the low ribs. We'll press up and back. So you can either take a child's pose with the knees tucked in, and the head could be lifted off the ground, or the forehead might come to the floor and the arms behind the hips, palms facing up. If you've had enough of being on the knees or the shins, then you can be on your back and just hugging the knees in. That's where we're going to be going next. So if you're on your back already, you can just stay. It's the gentle weight of your hands on your shins. If you're on your knees, then just take a moment to come over and meet us on the back. Let's bring the feet to the floor. Lengthen the left leg out long and hug the right knee in towards the chest. Squeeze and circle the right ankle. Notice what direction that the ankle is traveling in. Just kind of a part of that curiosity practice of what the habits of movement are. And then change direction. Bend the left knee if that leg had straightened out, and extend the right heel up towards the ceiling. Just let that leg reach up and support the hamstring with your hands. If they reach that far, you can also use a sock or that blanket to wrap around the thighs if arms need some extension. Point the toes here. And then flex the heel. And point, watch your foot. You can have your eyes open and see with fresh eyes how amazing it is that the brain can make the suggestion and then the foot moves. Things we take for granted. Good. Let's have the The hands start to help the femur bone on that extended leg rotate outward. So you'll see your toes turn out and cross the right ankle above the left knee. Let's find a bit of a rocking across the back of the pelvis, keeping your left foot on the floor. You might hold the sides of your mat with your thumb on top and your fingers underneath, or you can let your arms come into more of a teepee at your sides, and maybe the knees can fall a little further to the left so that you come onto the baby toe edge of your left foot, and then back through center. So we're unsquaring our pelvis and knees fall over to the right. And we'll just rock back and forth a few more times slowly, staying engaged in the core so we don't get an overstretch here. Back to center. A few more breaths there, or you can thread the needle lifting the left knee. You don't have to reach or strain to grab your shin or your thigh. You can use your hands to open up your right hip and press into the sole of the right foot with your left hand. So a little more work. Pulling the drawstring around the pelvis a little bit tighter. And then release the left leg. Shake out the right leg. Grab a pillow if you have in your space and put it over on the left side of your mat. Bring the right knee in towards the chest again. You can slide the back of your seat to the right and start to shift so that you're on your left hip. The bottom leg can relax. The right knee might rest on the pillow, or you might need to add a bit more height. You could also just put the pillow between your knees. That helps to ease this on the hips. Want to keep your right shoulder close to the ground, so that may mean your right arm is resting closer down by your hip. If it's easy to have your chest open and your right shoulder landing, then your right arm might be able to swing wide, shoulder height, as well as your gaze to move over in that direction. So each time through, it's different, not assuming that we can get, that it's a goal to get to where we were yesterday, or that it should be any different than it is. And stay here for a minute. Can help to have an anchor. Those anchors are always to do with what's here in the sensory realm, so grounding, just the feeling of the body and the shape, or the sensations of breathing. And that won't be for everybody, so sound is another option, just to rest your attention on what's coming across that field of hearing. Let's take 3 more breaths on this side. Good, and then slowly travel back to center. And shake again that right leg. Let's pause for a moment, bringing both knees to bench and letting the knees fall into touch. Just resting hands at the lower abdomen, just feeling the movement there. Some of the apana, resting energy. Resting the digestive organs. And we'll set up for the second side, so you might have your pillow over on the right side of your mat. Just so it's there. And draw the left knee in towards the chest for a squeeze. So we were paying attention to which direction we started the circle in. So same thing on this side. Just to notice if you're going clockwise or counterclockwise, just not for any reason other than to notice. It seems more natural for you. View in each direction. Your right leg can be straight or bent. We're going to stretch the left heel to the ceiling now. So I need to bend my right knee. So the hamstrings are not happy when the right leg is straight for this one. At least not getting into it. Pressing the heel to the ceiling and then point the toes. Let's pop the eyes open if they're closed so that you can watch the foot do what the brain is asking. Pretty amazing. More or less. Point and flex, point and flex. Just relax from that movement and use your hands to rotate the femur bone outwards. And then the left ankle crosses above the right knee. Very small rocking across the sacrum. Two half similar size bones in the back of the pelvis, lower down. If that's the range of movement for you that feels safe, just stay with that massage. Or hold the sides of your mat or take the arms open wide and let the knees fall more over towards the right. And then over towards the left. So you'll be swinging across the bottom of your right foot, lifting to the baby toe edge, and then to the big toe edge. Supporting with the core. And getting this ring it out. When we come back to center, see about lifting the right shin and just using your hands to align the pelvis, left hand rolling the left inner thigh open, right hand pressing to the bottom of the right foot, or threading the needle if that's available to you is fine, drawing the right knee a little closer. All of it without feeling anything in the left knee. If you're up, then lower back down and give the left leg some shakes. Shake it to the sky, loose, flash off the bone, and relax. So we've got the pillow on the right side. We'll bend the left knee and hop the back of the seat to the left. Start to shift so your left shin can be supported by a pillow or two. Your right hand can rest on your left thigh, or the pillow can be between both knees. Can be nicer for the hips to do that. Softening the left shoulder down, maybe looking out over the left shoulder. If it's lifted though, just keep your head more neutral or even looking to the right. And we'll take some time here to notice the resistance to slowing down or to being still. It's just like being at the gym and lifting some weights or intervals. It's conditioning, training, developing those mental muscles, patience, focus, and concentration. Little to no effort in the physical body. The effort in the mental landscape is just to be okay with what's here. To start over, to rest attention on one of those anchors. Let's take 3 more breaths here. 2. And 3. We'll come back to center, slow. Maybe another kick or shake off of that left leg. Your blanket or your pillow now. Just slide underneath your seat. So there's a slight elevation in the hips. The flow of blood is starting to come now from the legs and back to the heart and the face. Feet can stay on the floor. Or the legs can lift and float up. Be really loose here. You might open up your eyes again if your legs are elevated and see both those limbs that support your body. This is rare for us to spend time in this shape. And whether you're active, playing tennis, biking, running, walking, or whether you're tied to a seat, this is such a gift to give the heart a break. You can have the legs open up if you're here, and use your hands to support the inner thighs. And it's okay if the heels are heavy as well. That's a nice, if you want a little more opening in the hips. Any sorts of shapes with the legs here. You're welcome to continue to be in an elevated position with the legs, and that can include with the feet on the floor. It's still that the hips are a little lifted on this support. So you may want to come sort of unravel it back. We're heading into final rest, and that could be with some inversion. We can take the support out from under the hips and set yourself up for a more traditional Shavasana. Either with the feet a little wide and the knees touching, or the legs long. Use any of the supports that you have. If you're in an air-conditioned space and it's feeling chilly, a blanket over top of yourself, or even a little over the eyes to shut out the light. Take some time and care to set yourself up so you can reap the benefits of some rest. The time that I'm doing this recording, it is a day of rest. And now that for so long, weekends and weekdays have kind of rolled into one another, and it's hard to tell the difference. Work at home extends into the 24/7, so appreciate yourself for doing the best that you can to just be. Your mind can be super active. You're still resting and developing that relationship with the activity of the mind that's just not so triggered and yanked around. It's just happening in the background, not personal. If at the time that you choose to do this practice, you would like to continue to rest, maybe you're dozing off to sleep, please do that. If you're ready and if you'd like to close with me, then if your legs are elevated, begin to bring them down or take the support out. You might want to stretch a little bit or bring the knees into the chest again and rock side to side. Open the jaw wide. Move it side to side as well. If your eyes are closed, let's rub the palms together. Bring some energy back to the hands and rest them just above the eyes. Just feel what you feel there in the transfer of some heat, warmth. And roll over to one side and pause in the rescue pose. The rescue pose, an act that's been entered into and completed by you to care for this body, heart, and mind. Pressing up to sit comfortably in a way that is relaxed but a bit more noble. Resting the hands in the lap or at the heart center for a moment to acknowledge and also appreciate each other's company, even from distance. We are sharing in some way this practice of intimacy with each other and with oneself. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well, have ease and peace. And may the merits of our practice inform our movements, thoughts, and actions as we head out into whatever's next, whatever adventure is coming. Namaste. Thanks so much for being here.